Welcome back once again to the Art of Homeownership Rates Don't Matter extravaganza. We are on session number 3 already. The day is just flying by, but we have so much more value to cover with all of you. And this session specifically, if you have not heard from him, he is up and coming in this industry. He's really, you see the future of the mortgage industry and where it's headed. And I think Jewell Marsh is a perfect example of that. Just in the few conversations that I've had with him, he is one of those people that just really gets it as far as being a true advisor to your clients. Building a business while doing the right thing for consumers is really what he prioritizes. So I'm excited for you all to hear from him. He is a mortgage advisor with Thrive Mortgage, and we are going to be talking today about diversifying your sources of lead generation. So I think right now, one of the main strategies for a lot of people is going back after those real estate agents and those realtors that you really didn't need for a little while in this industry because rates were so low and the business was flowing in. But now going after those real estate agents, they're hearing from so many other people in the industry. So it's really time to diversify those sources of lead generation and figure out how else you can build your business. So I'm excited to have Jewell on with us today. Jewell, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
So Jewell, can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the industry, where you kind of started, and then how you ended up where you are?
Yeah. So I'm in my 8th year in the business. I came up in kind of the traditional lead generation model, which is go out there and pick up the phone and smile and dial and make as many phone calls as you can, whether that's to your database, whether that's to, the Zillow leads and those types of different outlets. And quite frankly, that was a beating for me. It was great because I got to learn a lot about the industry. I got to learn how to listen to the word no. But what I found was that it, translates into a very transactional type of relationship. And that is the norm for this industry, which I felt like there was something that was left to be desired in that type of engagement. And so I really wanted to try and figure out how to better speak to, quite frankly, my sphere, my friends, my family, everybody that was kind of getting into home ownership, had a bad taste in our mouth from 2008, and trying to break through, that transactional type of initial conversation. And I found that when you could remove the transaction from that first conversation, every subsequent conversation after that became much, much easier. Clients became a lot more confident, and that just made a much more enjoyable experience for everybody. So that is what I have honed in on, not only for clients, but also for partners, because I think that there's just a better, stronger way from a relationship mindset to build a business.
Yeah, and I love that you say that you were going after your sphere when you first started, because I think that's kind of the low-hanging fruit that people don't always go after and let them know what you do for a living. Like, I feel like so many family members, they're really not invested in our work lives. So even just being active on social media, telling people what you do and the advice that you give is kind of the low-hanging fruit of just getting to be that preferred lender for the people in your life. So I love that. But right now, like, where did you kind of see that shift in, okay, I want to be more of a relationship-based mortgage advisor, and how did you really get started
Yeah.
with becoming that?
So I think what was the real eye opener for me was, I was very fortunate to learn under some very successful people in the industry, some of the top producers, and really understand from like a building systems standpoint, like what a successful business look like. And we were helping a lot of families every single year. One of the things that I noticed as I kind of got into my 2nd and 3rd year in the business was, despite the fact that we were doing a lot of business, we really didn't have a lot of client retention and those conversations of helping their family members or helping them again, honestly. That cycle in real estate, everybody's moving, I think now it's somewhere between 7 and 10 years, but in all likelihood, like they're going to refinance once or twice before they sell. And we just weren't getting those opportunities. And when we tried to pick up the phone and reach back out to the clients that we may have helped purchase a home 2 years ago, they didn't know who we were. And that was a huge problem. This is the biggest purchase in a person's life, arguably. And if they don't even know who was the person that helped them, like, that was a huge disconnect. So that was probably the first big thing that popped out to me. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to change this. Whether that was from just, really focusing in on the relationship, or really coming from a standpoint where there was substantive value that they felt they were getting, that kind of kept us at the top of their mind as they were continuing to have conversations with friends and family about real estate, as they were thinking about different moves. And so what's funny is, fast forward to where we are now, the whole philosophy of what Art of Home Ownership does is that long-term value add and building that relationship over time. Because just in the steps that we take, those conversations allow for us to dig a lot deeper than more deep than probably most friends are going to talk with friends, right? We get to see everything in their life. We get to see what's going on. We get to ask those pointed questions. We get to learn about where they want to go and their goals, not only personally, but also financially. And so it became just like this perfect melting pot of like, hey, these are the types of conversation I'm trying to have. And now we have the resources in order to really add some different type of value there. And so it was just a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. And now, like I was talking about in the beginning, to kind of preface this whole session, a lot of people are going after the realtors that, right, like they didn't need for a little while in the industry. They weren't looking to them for sources of leads, and now they are. So from your perspective, right now in this current environment, where are you really looking to generate that business from? Are you going after the realtors? I know you have a good amount of strategic partnerships as well. And just for reference, for everyone listening, from the Art of Homeownership side of things, we call strategic partners the financial advisors, CPAs, trust attorneys. So Jewell, right now, kind of what is your strategy as far as building that business and generating more?
Yeah, absolutely. So I still definitely work with my realtors. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I don't. That's probably the largest source, but it's shifting a little bit. So, I focus on database and those relationships with clients. Realtors probably comes in number two. And then number three, what has really been fruitful the last, we'll call it 6 months or so, is starting to have conversations with financial advisors, CPAs, trust attorneys, the other arms of the wealth creation for every single client. And so the cool part about that is a lot of these different professionals are having conversations with their clients on somewhat of a regular basis. Right now, just given the climate that we have in the economy, if you want to focus on financial advisors, a lot of people are worried about what's going to happen in the economy. Is their money safe? What are the different types of moves that they need to make? And for people that already own homes, that is a huge piece of their financial puzzle. And what I've found is that with financial advisors, even though they're having these conversations maybe around a mortgage or around what someone's doing with the home, they don't necessarily have that best next step of, hey, let me get you in touch with somebody that's actually going to be working together with me to get you to where you want to go, instead of sending you down a different path and completely contradicting the advice that I'm giving you. And so what I have done is I have started to try and foster an education-based relationship with financial advisors, where we kind of give and take. Hey, you're having a lot of these conversations with clients about different financial aspects. Like, where are you seeing some of the most common pitfalls that I can look for with my clients that may be a great opportunity for me to connect them with you so that you can help them rectify that? And the same thing vice versa, as it pertains to anything real estate. So my personal philosophy is, I think financial literacy is the single biggest proponent of the challenges we have in America today. And so everything that I do from my mortgage business is, how can I help you become financially literate, and how can I help you understand real estate at the highest level? Because I believe if you can set that foundation the right way, well, now every decision that we make moving forward becomes that much easier. And so what's great about that in working with a financial advisor or a CPA or these other elements that are a part of that puzzle is, now we've got 2, 3, 4 different people that are all on the same page. We all understand where they want to go. And now the goal is wherever the client wants to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And we just get to continuously, teamwork makes the dream work, as far as getting them to where they want to be. So it's been great so far. And it's a perfect opportunity to tap into database a little bit differently. A lot of times when we think about building the relationships or starting to touch back into our database, quite frankly, we come across salesy and we come across needy as like, hey, I'm reaching out, everything's great, it's so nice to talk to you. Oh, by the way, who do you know that's looking to refinance? Or hey, we have this mortgage product. And immediately it nullifies everything that you talked about with them prior to that conversation. So what's great about that is what I've been doing with a couple financial advisors is we've actually started to put together some classes around some fundamental financial aspects. And then what's great about that is I get to weave art of home ownership into that. And so we're talking about, different, focal points for the mortgage side of it, but then all of the tools and resources and how I build it together as the team is going to help you get to where you want to be. It's been very fruitful in terms of the conversations that I've had with clients.
That's awesome. And to your point, Jewell, I think you said about, calling up your past database and just saying, these are the rates right now. Are you looking to refinance? That opportunity is kind of going away because now rates are starting to increase where these people have 2.5%, 3% interest rates. They're not going to be looking to refinance anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of just removing that opportunity from the database that you've worked with for the past 2 years. So let's talk a little bit about the database nurture, because I know you said that's a big source of your business. So what do you do at the closing table? So you've just worked with a client. A lot of people, that's their opportunity to ask for a referral. But I know you have a different approach when it comes to getting more people into your database and into your environment. So how do you really ultimately ask for that referral in a not salesy kind of way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the premise of that is in my process, I walk every single client through the art of homeownership. I'll call it an experience because that's really what it is. There's a lot of different things that come with it. And I kind of show them what they're going to get after we get done with closing. That's really where our job starts. And so one of the big proponents of the art of homeownership is making sure to do those post-closing calls. And so what I do is I actually like to take the time to walk the clients through each and every one of the tools. That way, when it comes across their inbox, they know exactly how to use it already. There's no friction of, oh, well, I don't really know what this is. I wasn't told what, and it goes into a spam filter. They're actually actively seeking the tools. And then what's so awesome about that is once they understand the tools a little bit better, they're much more willing to share that with others. And so instead of asking, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate or refinance, the conversation says, hey, do you find value in these tools? Do you think that they'll be helpful? Well, hey, who else do you know out there that may benefit from these as well? Because what I'd love to do is give them these resources as well using your name. And all I do is instead of trying to really dig into all kinds of details on those first conversations, what we do is we set up about a 20 to 25 minute Zoom call where I just walk them through the tools. But as I'm walking them through the tools, I'm having different conversations around, hey, so tell me a little bit more about your house. Like, how long have you been there? Are you loving it? Like, you think? And I start to build whatever that picture is for the client. So then when I go back to either a referral partner or even just for my long-term relationship building, I understand where they're looking to go. I know that conversation is not going to warrant a deal right away. Last time I checked, there was no metric for when a relationship should give you any type of business. And so when you remove that out of the equation, now all of a sudden we're just going out there and helping people and trying to, have those conversations and share the tools with as many people as possible, because over time, that is what's going to start building in your database. If you can just give people value and help other people win, eventually you're definitely going to win yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that too, it's kind of twofold. You're adding value to the person that you're bringing into your environment. But then, like you said in a previous conversation, I think you were talking about how excited the clients get to offer some sort of value to someone in their network. Like when you're giving people something, then they're kind of secondhand giving them this platform and these tools to really make the most of their home and their wealth. And I think that's really cool and powerful.
Absolutely. And last time I checked, none of us were taught how to buy a house, right? Or really how to own it successfully. And so the challenge that most of us have is we completely overestimate what our friends and family and clients know about real estate, right? Quite frankly, most of us learn by failing forward and making mistakes. And, that's just the way that we pick things up. And so what's great about the current environment, all we hear about is how home prices are going up and how interest rates are going up and all of these things that are really confusing, where if you Google it online, you can find 17 different answers to the same question. They all contradict each other. It's hard to know which way is up. And so by allowing people to share the tools with their friends, we'll talk about things like HomeBot, right? Like, hey, I know right now you're hearing about home values going up. Like, how great would it be to know exactly where you stand every single month, right? Like, so those that are out there that are homeowners already, it's like, well, yeah, I want to do that. Like, absolutely, it's free. Wait, you just connected me with somebody that gave me this tool. Thank you so much, because this just made it easier for me to be a homeowner and to be a successful one. And so all of those resources that we have at our disposal, even if it's the financial review, that could be as simple as a quick market update of like, hey, walking them through the tools, and here's what's kind of going on in the mortgage and real estate space, just so that wanted to share it with you just so that there's not any uncertainty. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can use in those conversations, and none of them require sales. Like, I think Ryan has a great initial script that he uses. It says, hey, look, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I could care less if you buy or sell a house right now, right? And so one, that's like a trigger. People are like, wait, what? But then when you actually follow through on that and you're not pushing them one way or the other, and you're just coming with, hey, I just want to give you as many resources as you can possibly have to make that next step. What I find is people are absolutely more willing to share that with others because you're actually helping them without a need for anything.
So let's talk a little bit about the database nurture and how you really create more business from the people that you've worked with in the past. So not only are you adding one person for all the clients that you're working with, but like we keep mentioning the post-close call and then the annual financial review. What does it entail to do an annual financial review? Because I think a lot of people do the annual mortgage review. So this is kind of a new concept, but what does that really look like? And then how do you ultimately generate more business from it?
Yeah, so this is great if you do have relationships with the financial advisors, the CPAs. Some of the conversations that I've had with my partners are, hey, look, when you're going through and you're talking to your clients, what are the questions that you need answered? Like, what are the things that people usually don't have put together? What are the things that they really need to have put together? And then what I do is I take those questions and I immediately fuse those into the reviews that we're doing. So, we ask the questions of, figuring out, the scale rating, their particular professionals and what they think about that. And what I have found is that the vast majority of people just don't have those professionals in their corner. And so it becomes a really good opportunity for me to ask some of those questions that I know the financial advisor or the CPA are going to want to know. So I can kind of front load some information for them when I make that handoff. But it's one of those things where the questions that we ask help people understand how much they don't know. And when it comes from a value stance, really it helps keep that momentum high for them having those conversations. And I think that once people start having wins themselves, now they become the biggest proponents of trying to let everybody else know, because from a wealth creation standpoint and financial, wherewithal, as they start watching their net worth going up and these decisions affecting their day-to-day lives and putting them in places where maybe they don't have to work that job that they don't like anymore because they took care of some different things. It's a really cool opportunity to have a very laid back conversation. That annual financial review, that annual mortgage review, it doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be super rigid. It is just building a relationship and just fusing in a little bit of, hey, tell me where you're at. Tell me where you want to go. Tell me what you're struggling with. Okay, let's figure out what this might look like to put your best foot forward from here. And then we're going to revisit this, in 6 months or 12 months or whatever that time cadence needs to be. And what's great about that too is you get to set expectations with the clients and the partners. So now you can figure out what that dual follow-up or triple level follow-up is, hey, I'm going to follow up in 3 months and you can touch base in 2 months after that, and they're getting a job promotion in 9 months. So this would be a great time for you to reach out. Like all of those different things where you kind of weave together those relationships. And I find that once that happens, it's very hard honestly to lose a client when you're coming from such a values, position. And when you have that type of relationship, now everybody's businesses, your affiliate partners, everybody's growing at the same time.
Yeah, it's really kind of a no-brainer and like a win for everyone. Like the businesses are growing, the people are reaching the financial goals that they're setting for themselves. And I think really the thing that sets you apart the most is really asking them where they want to go. Because I think that's one thing that's overlooked, especially from the mortgage side of things. It's always, what kind of house do you want now? But it's not what kind of house would you dream of having and
Mhm.
how can we get you to that point? Because then that, and this is kind of a plug for the next session, Danny talks about selling the next loan. So we're talking about not selling, but really in reality, you're setting yourself up for a transaction down the road because you're saying, where do you want to get to? And then what are the milestones that you need to reach in order to get closer to that goal? And that just sets your business up for more growth in the future.
Well, it's one of those
Keeps
things
you
that keeps it really authentic, to be completely honest. And you are going to express what type of person you are very quickly. If you tell someone, hey, I want to help you get to where you want to be 20, 30 years down the road, and then you do nothing to deliver on that, you're immediately hurting the trust with that client. So a lot
Mhm.
of those questions of, hey, what does this look like? And, let's take a step back and dream a second. What does this look like? A lot of times, for me, it's a lot of my sphere. First time home buyers, people, millennials are riddled with, student loan debt. That is a huge burden that they have. They think that they're going to be paying it for the next 25 years. And a lot of people will, unfortunately. Um,
Mhm.
but one of the ways that I kind of set up at least the home ownership thing is, hey, this is actually going to be a very, very good tool for you to get rid of those student loans. This is what we're looking at as far as what the home likely is going to appreciate. Here's what we can do down the road. And what would this look like if 5, 7, 10 years down the road, we get rid of those student loans altogether? Now, what do we want to do from there? And once you start to
Yeah.
help people figure out a path of, wait a second, I can get to these freedom points. Well, now they're buying into it too. And when they're bought in, well, now that just makes everything else easy. And then all you have to do is just make sure that you're kind of their running buddy of, hey, we said we want to do this. Did anything else change? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to adjust how we're going about this? Or are we just going to continue on our course? And now you've got that mutual relationship that as they start to see those wins, it's like, wow, they stuck with me the whole time. Like it's been years and they've talked to me, multiple times, and it had nothing to do with the mortgage or nothing to do with real estate. And they're just checking in to see how these things are going. And that is what truly, I think, fosters the highest level of referral based business, because not
Mhm.
only are they going to scream from the rooftops about how great you are, it also makes all of your partners that are working with them look a lot better too. When everybody is in unison and on the same page, everybody looks like rock stars. The client feels like a rock star, and that's the working environment that I want to be a part of.
Yeah, that's so good. And it just feels so natural to them. It doesn't feel like you're selling them. It doesn't feel like you're trying to make a gain from their business. It's really just creating a relationship and then being there when they need you most.
Hmm.
So I think that's so brilliant.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about. We have a few minutes left here. The financial advisor relationships that you're creating. I think a lot of people, when they're starting to create these relationships, they're really wondering, how can I add to this other than just sending referrals back and forth? So when you approach those financial advisor relationships, what's like their main priority? Like what do they really care about and what ultimately makes them want to create a partnership with you?
So I think anybody wants more clients, right? Like that's ultimately like the end goal. But one of the ways that I approach that, because it's a little bit different, in the real estate business, we are so conditioned and just used to lead generation, at least the mindset of going out there and having the network and having to shake hands. Financial advisors are similar, but not as active in that regard. A lot more, they are, I think, very relationship driven, but it's a lot more of just slowly working that referral based business. And so, what I love to ask them is like, hey, tell me a little bit more about your business. What are the type of clients that you're looking to work with, and what are the pitfalls that are keeping you from being able to get to the level of what you're wanting to do right now? They're gonna be an open book as far as, hey, this is some of the things that I'm struggling. One of the common things that I'm finding is just that after conversation value add. right? Like, what am I doing to stay top of mind? What am I
Hmm.
doing to continue to, help clients and move that needle forward? That's not just the cookie cutter, okay, hey, we're going to review the finances and I'll talk to you again in 12 months, right? If there's something that can be done that keeps us top of mind, that continues to add value, and that's where like the art of home ownership piece came in huge in that, is because what I was able to do is sit down with financial advisors and say, hey, look, what is your process for how you follow up with clients? What are the things that you offer clients aside from what you're doing in your one-on-one consultations? And most of them just don't necessarily have a process there. And so by allowing them to essentially reach out to their database and say, hey, look, I partner with a mortgage advisor that has a fantastic platform that we are going to offer to you. It's completely free. Like we've talked about, where you're wanting to go. He wants to jump in, walk you through the tools, and then we're going to make sure that you understand how to use them. And this is just going to help you become either a more successful renter, because that's a whole category that most people don't think about, or a more
Yeah.
successful homeowner. And so it really just helps them with being able to create the most opportunities to have conversations that again come from, hey, I don't necessarily need your business right now, right? One of the great things about some of the financial advisors is like when they buy in, they're off to the races too. They're going out there and just giving it to people that aren't even clients, right? It's an opportunity
Hmm.
for us to earn that business down the road, but it's really coming from a value out of, hey, I'm just going to give. And eventually that's going to create some ripples that allow for me to get more clients and more opportunities. But I think that when you can take that mindset, not only is that a long-term mindset, which gets you out of that short-term need for business in every conversation, but you're able to have a vast amount of conversations instead of, okay, who do I know that's needing a financial advisor right now? It's like, well, hey, like I'm doing this. It's a little bit different. Like I'd love to set you up on it, walk you through it, like just give it to you for free. Like, and the way that I like to pitch it and the way that they've been doing it is like, hey, we're going to set you up on this and just give us some feedback. Like, tell me some of the things you don't like. Tell me some of the things that you do like. Like, how can we improve on this? And
Yeah.
really what that does is it gets them to really pay attention. And what they find is like, wow, these tools are awesome. Like, I love that. And then it segues into the conversation. Hey, who else do you know that could benefit from it? We'd love to give it to them too. So
Hmm.
it's cool.
Yeah, and it's very non-threatening. Like when you're giving something to someone, they are always a little suspicious. So if you're saying, we just want your feedback, we want to know how we can get better, and they probably feel a little special too, like they want my feedback. And that's cool. They're helping you and you're helping them, and that's awesome.
And it is a longer term game plan, right? Like there's short term execution in this business, but a lot of these financial advisor conversations that I have been having, I really became focused on this probably 6 months ago of like, okay, I'm going to be very intentional of the way, and just now am I starting to see really like a lot more conversations coming, because there's a little bit of a ramp up of getting it going. But once that train gets moving, it's going to be very hard to stop because everybody wants it. It's a fantastic platform. It's a lot of great tools. And so the opportunities are endless in how you want to partner with different, ancillary partners on it. And that's just financial advisors, right? Like then you get to segue that after they've had the conversations they need to of like, okay, let's make sure that we're protected, whether that's a trust attorney or a family will attorney or the right insurance people. Like you just get to kind of move them right along the line. And it's all from a, hey, we're helping this overarching view. We're going to make sure that that's taken care of. And so in order to do that, we've got to get you with the specialist that can help, but everybody's on the same page. Nobody's going to sit here and try and pull you one direction. Like we all have conversations around what it's going to take to get you to where you want to be. And then everybody's bought in, everybody loves it, everybody's happy. I haven't
Hmm.
really had many problems with that. Like everybody is in great communication, and it also helps you to create some good business to business, relationships with pairing a financial advisor with a CPA or a trust attorney. It's like, hey, this is our mutual client. Like, let's get together, let's talk about this,
Yeah.
and then you get to grow it that way too.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, we have just been impeccable on time because this was perfect timing. And Jewell, this is so valuable. And I love your strategy. I love kind of your mindset of just going into the industry because I don't think a lot of people adopt it. Having that abundance mindset and the long-term vision of the more that I give away now, the better my business will be long-term. I think it's so valuable, and it's great. So I appreciate you so much joining and creating some value. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me today.
And we will be back here at, I have to calculate my time zones, 11:30 Pacific time, 2:30 Eastern time, with Danny Hirani talking about how to combat those giants, the marketing giants in the industry they have $1.3 billion of a marketing budget. And how do you really compete with that? So we're going to be talking with Danny. He's one of the most brilliant minds in the industry. So be sure to come back here in 30 minutes, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much, Jewell. We appreciate it.